you. The tunes did improve, like from people who were in there earlier. We had some real strange tunes. Can I just welcome everybody this evening, saying how fantastic it is to be able to welcome parents into school. Genuinely, we really have missed you, and it's a delight to be able to welcome you back in. If I could just say a couple of things just briefly before we start. Can I just also, first of all, apologise for the map. Can I say on the printout on screen, the colours were very distinctly different. But unfortunately, what we didn't do was we didn't check the printout and note that some of the colours that were very different before we printed it actually looked very similar. So my apologies for any confusion that's caused. The second thing is that we have had a mobile phone handed in. So if anybody finds that they've lost their mobile phone, that is up with Mr. K in geography. After the session, he's got that saved, so you can bob up and get that. Okay, so if I could first of all just introduce myself. My name's Tony Goodman, Deputy Head Teacher, responsibility for quality of education. Miss, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. I know you asked me not to, but I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
I am Ms Edyvean. I am Assistant Head Teacher with responsibility for curriculum, planning the curriculum and school timetable.
Okay, you do come in and enjoy this. Yeah, all right, no problem at all, but some extra spaces don't know. Sorry, Miss. Okay, those of you who just joined us, you're not missing anything, just the introductions. What I will say as well is, for everybody that wants to watch this presentation again later on, it is being recorded and should go onto our website as well. We were contacted by a number of parents who weren't keen about coming into large groups, and that's absolutely fine. So we are recording it to see. That means no heckling, please. We are recording it and just popping it out on our website to watch. What I would like to say as well is thank you for the feedback we had last year. I wrote to you a year ago mentioning that we felt that the most appropriate thing we could do with our option choices is not ask our young people in Year 8 to make their option choice in Year 8. We felt strongly that given the disruption that they had to their learning and the opportunities that they hadn't had to see the subjects at high school, we felt it was important that they had more time in order to be able to get some experience with those subjects, and that they were able to make, therefore, an informed choice about what their options are going to be. And that's what this evening is all about, is making sure everybody has the information that they need to make the best choices for themselves. And so you've obviously already been able to go off and see some different subjects, and there'll be 2 more opportunities after that to go and see 2 more subjects today. But please do take those opportunities and ask any questions that you will. Tonight is all about options, but it's really important that we share with you as well the fact that there are a number of compulsory subjects that all students will be studying. Some of those will have a qualification at the end, and others will not have qualification at the end, but are followed as part of our Key Stage 4, our Year 10-11 national curriculum. So if I could just share those with you, all the students will study English language and English literature, and do that at GCSE. All students will study everybody's favourite subject, mathematics, which is my subject, and I know that everybody in the room is a big fan of mathematics. All students will do a GCSE mathematics. And then everybody will study science in one form or another. And just to let you know there, that science is one of our options, and you may have already been in and seen Mr. King in science. And if you have been in, you'll know that that is actually whether you want to do the combined science that everybody will do unless you opt for triple science. And if you haven't been already, just to explain the difference between the two, combined science is, as it sounds, biology, chemistry, physics, all taught in a combined fashion, so you end up with, bizarrely maybe, 2 GCSEs in science. You do biology, chemistry, physics, and actually that equates to 2 GCSEs. If you choose it as a separate science, and do what we call triple science, you will have a GCSE in biology, a GCSE in chemistry, and a GCSE in physics, and of course that will count as 3 sciences. So everybody will leave having studied science in one of those forms or another. As part of the national curriculum, all students will study religious studies, and as in a high school, we enter all our students for the GCSEs, so they get a qualification at the end of that as well. There are 3 other compulsory subjects that we do that don't have a qualification at the end, and they are digital skills, which is computing. All students will do physical activities, which they do in our PE games lessons, And all students will study PSHE, and Ms Edyvean will mention later on about how they will do that in Year 10 and in Year 11. So, pass on to yourself about the option choices.
Okay, so this morning the students here had an assembly which Bob Mr. Goodman explained this process, and at the end of that assembly they all received a paper copy of the options form that looks like this. I'm going to just hazard a guess that some of the parents and carers here probably haven't seen this yet, that it's probably still at the bottom of the bag. This is the starting point of the options process. Please don't worry if you haven't seen it. We have got a few spares here. We can get spares out to students. Please don't worry if it's already disappeared. But that form indicates what students have to pick. So I know you can't see this up here. I'm going to show you a closer view in a moment. But we have two boxes on that form. The purple box, all students have to pick one choice from the purple box. They then get two free choices from the blue box. And the indicator on the form is a box ticked at the bottom of the form, which indicates to me, when I get that initial choice in, whether you as parents and carers want some contact with us to discuss the options. I'll come back to that a little bit later on. So on that form, the purple box, the list of subjects from which everybody needs to choose one option, is that list there. You can choose a combination of those subjects. It is not the case that if you look at that list and go, well, I wanted to do geography and German, you absolutely can, because those subjects are then repeated in the blue list. But what we are indicating there is that we want all students to pick one of those to give them the full suite of academic subjects that require students to study, but then any two of the others. If you're looking at that list and thinking, I have no idea what ASDAN is, the parents and students for whom that is relevant will already have been contacted. That is a course that we offer for some students who might find some of the content of the 3 GCSEs, including those on the list, particularly challenging. So if you've not been contacted about that, then please don't worry about it. So you've got one from the purple list, 2 from the blue list, which is basically everything else that we offer. Initial advice from the school, and particularly from me, first of all, for students, is to choose what you enjoy and what you're good at, the subjects that are going to take you where you want to go, not what your friends are choosing. You might choose all the same subjects as your friends and think, oh, I'm going to be in the lessons with all my mates. That's probably not going to happen. Because when it comes to your options, you will be put in potentially a different group to the group that your friends are in. And that's because my job, when I get those forms in, is to put everybody's choices into blocks, into classes, and it's a bit of a jigsaw to try and fit everybody in, and I cannot pay really any attention to whether so-and-so is with their best mate. And every year I have students come to me and say, could you move me into that group? The answer is no, unfortunately, because you have to get everybody's options in. You can't take that into consideration. Also, for students, choose the subject, not the teacher. We're a very big school. We have a lot of teaching staff. You might have an absolute favourite teacher now, and you might not be teaching you at GCSE. So it's the subject you need to be thinking about rather than the number of staff that teaches you. Think about getting a good balance of subjects. We don't give students set blocks as some schools do. We do say you have to choose from that purple list, otherwise it's a complete free opt. And if students want to choose 2 arts subjects, that's absolutely fine. If students want to choose 2 languages, that's absolutely fine. But think about that balance, and also that balance of examinations at the end. And on that note,
Okay, so a few things to consider. We're going to run through some of those with you this evening, but one of the questions that we get each year, 2 of the questions we get each year, should I choose a language? and should I choose the EBAC combination? Now, some people will be more okay with the EBAC combination, and I'll go through that in a moment. But there are key questions here, and this evening is all about making sure you have all the information you need to make those informed choices. Now, be absolutely clear that I don't want anyone to think at the end of this that this is my personal opinion and I'm enforcing that on this evening, but we want to make sure you know what the research says. And there's lots of information, lots of research around whether students should choose a language. And the research suggests that in some of these jobs, in some of there are opportunities that having a language is a benefit. Okay? And that's not me saying that there, that's the researchers within that. And some of those careers up there, there is a train of thought that having a language would be a benefit in those subjects there. And just to let you know about this research, which is an interesting piece of research, it's estimated that bilingual employees can earn up to 20% more than their monolingual counterparts. I want to share that with you there. There's lots of things that I know now that I wish I'd known previously. I just want to make sure that that piece of information, that piece of research, if you're unsure about whether to pick a language, and I don't want you thinking that if you don't pick a language, that I don't want any of our students thinking, Mr. Goodman said if you don't pick a language, you can't do any of those careers. But the research suggests that having a language may be a benefit in some of those careers listed up there. Similarly, and there's an awful lot of concern about whether or not French and German are more difficult than other subjects, and it's more difficult to get a higher grade in those subjects. Now, this was an article based on something that came out from the DFE. This was written in 2019, and then we had a small hiccup in 2020, which meant we didn't actually get to see the GCSE results in the usual fashion of examinations in 2020 because of course COVID came along and we had centre assessed grades. However, it had already made clear that actually French and German, if you look at the results in those subjects compared to other subjects, there was between half a grade and 3/4 of a grade difference between the grades that students achieved in those subjects compared to the other subjects. Okay? And Ofqual decided that wasn't right and they needed to look at the grade boundaries, so they'd already committed to bringing those subjects into line with other subjects. Okay? So we were looking in 2020 to see that levelling up of the grade boundaries so that students weren't disadvantaged by picking a language. Now, I've put that article on there. We are still expecting to see that the case in 2022 results, and of course, your children in the room will be getting their results in 2024, and we would expect that to be the case. And some people might say, well, I'm not going to pick French and German, it's harder to look at all the results. That's already been acknowledged by Ofqual, and we expect to see that to manifest itself in 2022, 23, 24. The EBAC combination is something there's lots of conversation about. And absolutely, again, I'm going to absolutely categorically say that is not my opinion I'm sharing with you here this evening, but it's about giving you the information, what we have available to us. The EBAC combination is not a qualification in its own right. What it is a series of subjects that are deemed to show that you have a range of skills across a range of subjects. And what you would do is you would pick these subjects to show that you are skilled in a number of areas. So you'll notice the top three, English language and literature, maths and 2 sciences, our compulsory courses will already cover those 3 areas. But what the EBAC combination suggests is that you would add to that geography or history and a language, French or German. And of course, our students in Year 9 are doing German at the moment, and that means that's available as an option. However, please remember that French is also available as an option. Now, the EBAC combination, just to share this piece of research for you, and this has come from the government. The EBAC is made up of subjects which are considered essential to many degrees and open up lots of doors. A study by the UCL Institute of Education shows that studying subjects including the EBAC provides students with greater opportunities in further education and increases the likelihood that a pupil will stay on in full-time education. Sutton Trust research reveals that studying the EBAC can help improve young person's performance in English and maths. And that's something that if you're really not sure about what it is that you wanted to study, what combination you want to study, that's something we would just encourage you to have a think about. But definitely, please don't go away under any circumstances thinking, Mr. Goodman says that if you don't study the EBAC combination, you will be closing lots of doors and you'll be shutting off opportunities to lots of degrees. definitely something that research says is worth considering. We will not, and we do not force students to take the EBAC suite of subjects. Okay? We don't do that at Haslingden High School. There are other schools that do insist students do that, and that's absolutely fine if that's the choice they wish to make. However, what we want to share with them, and it's about sharing information, is that our young people will be in competition with those students as well when they're looking for further education courses, apprenticeships and jobs. And if you did feel that was something important that you felt would make you more employable or more recruitable onto a university course, we just urge you to have a think about that. So the decision there is those three are already compulsory. The decision would be geography or history, along with French or German.
So just to go back to the form that I mentioned, this is the starting point really tonight of you and your child thinking about the subjects that you want to take. In 2 weeks' time, I need this form back. Initially it comes back to form tutors, and then it comes back to me with the indication of your child's initial choices. The choices need to be put on the form in order of preference, first, second, third, and then reserve choice. The reserve choice is really important. There are, very rarely, but there are situations, sometimes, some years, where we cannot accommodate students' choices. Please be aware that when you hand that form, that is not an absolute guarantee that you're going to get the options you want. In the main, students do. However, please be aware of these points. Courses that do not attract many students might not run. That doesn't happen very often. It has happened very occasionally in the past. Some of the very specialist courses where we get fairly low numbers. There are occasionally years where we have to look at the numbers and then say, okay, it's not feasible to run that course. Similarly, students may be interviewed for some courses that they prove very popular. That's even rarer, but it has happened in the past where facilities dictate you can only offer a limited number of classes in the subject area. So, for example, we only have one food technology room, we only have 2 food technology teachers, food preparation and nutrition at GCSE. Realistically, we can only run 2 classes. If suddenly this year 150 students want to take that course, which is pretty unlikely, then we may be saying, right, we need to look at how to limit those numbers. That is when the reserve choice becomes really important. There will never be a situation where I will get these forms in, decide that a course isn't running, and automatically give your child a reserve choice. That will not happen without a conversation. Okay? So please don't think that when you get to a point where, at one point there, where you have the meeting and the member of the senior leadership team automatically going to say, sorry, that's not running, you've got to skip reserve choice. I will already have had that conversation with you, with parents, and with students. So if there's any issues, I will inform you and have a discussion about what the options are. Okay? Initial choices on the form need to go to the form tutors by Monday the 14th of March. Please be aware that is the initial choice. And I know that some students, it takes a long time for them to make a decision, and then a week later they've changed their mind. That is the first initial indication. Those forms then come to me, I can have a look through them, and I know by that point which courses potentially might not run, which courses are going to be very popular, etc. The following week, Monday the 21st of March, and over that 10-day period to Wednesday the 30th, your child will have an interview, effectively a meeting with a member of the senior leadership team, so Mr. Goodman, Ms Edyvean, Mr Clark, me, whoever it might be. We'll have that discussion, and then the final choices will be inputted. So the form will be there, and what we will do is say, okay, are you still sure about these? Have you changed your mind at all? You can, if you choose, as parents, come to that meeting. We don't get many parents or carers come in because it is a very short meeting, and obviously we're aware that it will take the time out of work to come for 5 minutes. It is not feasible for a lot of people. However, you can indicate at the bottom of the form if you want some communication. If you're happy, the child's made the choices and they want to have a meeting with us on their own, that's fine. If you want a telephone call, please indicate that and we will have that discussion with any questions. Final thing from me is just to give you a bit of information really about how the curriculum for your children will change as they move into year 10. I know this probably doesn't look like it makes much sense to you, but on the top row, if you just look at the top row there, the boxes across that line, 29 boxes, represent the 29 periods in our school week. So 29 lessons that every student has in a week. And you can see the subjects that are allocated the number of lessons. So the red box on the left hand side is PSHE. So every student in year 9 has a discrete PSHE lesson. 4 periods of maths, pink is 4 periods of English, they have 5 periods of science, and so on across the week, ending with the 2 performing arts options that they already chose last year. When they move into year 10, things will obviously change, but not just with their options. So the PSHE lesson will go. Maths is allocated an extra lesson. English goes up to 5. And you'll see that in year 11, English then goes up to 6 periods a week. And the reason for that is English is delivering 2 GCSEs, delivering English language and English literature. And that's the reason for that. It looks like a heavy obligation there. So in year 10, 5 maths lessons and the PSHE, which is statutory. There are some elements of PSHE which we have to deliver, will be delivered as part of the maths programme every fortnight. PSHE lesson will be delivered in those lessons. English and science goes up to 6 because the students will be studying biology, chemistry and physics, 2 lessons each. We've got digital skills, which is our computing lesson, RSGCSE, which is allocated to the core games, and then the optional subjects, 3 periods each. What changes in year 11, the English going up to 6, that time is taken from the computing and digital skills lesson. So it just gives you an idea about how the curriculum will change as your child goes through to year 11 to exams.
Okay, so just finally then, just to summarise through those, the next steps. This evening, opportunity to speak to as many subject leaders and curriculum leaders as you can in the subjects you're interested in. That isn't the only opportunity to ask questions. Please, if your child does have any questions, please send them in to speak to either the appropriate curriculum leader or to myself, Ms Edyvean. Come and have a conversation and ask those questions. If you could have a good look through the options booklet, which was sent out yesterday via email. If you've not seen that, then it is on our website as well for any reason. And it would also, if you could let us know that you haven't received that, and we'll check our systems. The students have been using Unifrog in their PSHE lessons to give them information about careers and option choices. And they've got a login to that if you wanted to show you that at home. On the 9th of March, which of course next Wednesday is our parents' evening, which will be remote on School Cloud. If you haven't had an opportunity to make appointments for that yet, you could do so, please. You've got the opportunity to ask about the progress that your children are making in those particular subject areas, and that may help you to make a choice as to whether that would be an appropriate option for year 10 and 11. And then finally on there, the submit initial option choices, that is to form tutors on the 14th of March. And then the meeting with the senior leadership team, that will start from the week beginning the 21st of March. The map you've already seen, like I say, definitely it looks a little bit better on there, but it's in truth not hugely through the projector, so apologies for that. But just to finish, to remind you that the Monday the 14th of March, that's the deadline for initial choices. There are 2 more sessions taking place this evening, the next one starting in 5 minutes. But Ms Edyvean and I will stay around if there are any questions for ourselves as well after. And thank you again for coming on.